Hey, everybody, and welcome. I'm glad y'all made it to Zoom. Uh, my name's Brady. I'm a T4, and this is my co-facilitator, Lindsey. She's also T4, and we have one of our friends, Kishore. He's his term 2. So we'd like to welcome y'all. I'll let Lindsey take the floor.
Hey guys, how is everybody doing today? You getting excited? Turn the cameras on for a sec. We always talk to like a black screen. We just want to see your, it doesn't matter what you look like. We don't care. But we're so happy for you guys. So you guys started on the 7th, correct? You can just give a thumbs up.
Is this y'all's first time on Zoom? No, yes, maybe sometime. Okay. Yeah, this is the platform that the teachers are going to use, the school's going to use. We should let y'all know this is completely informal. Like we're just students doing this. This is not through the school, but we run our own large tutoring sessions for a lot of the younger terms or lower terms. So you will be seeing and hearing from us a lot.
Yeah. So my name is Lindsey. You guys have seen me post in your Facebook group. So like Brady said, I'm a term 4 student. What that means is I'm a year 2. So Brady and I are both year 2. We're like the first semester of year 2. So you guys are going to be term 1s, then term 2. And then the numbering is kind of weird because 3, 4 is actually together. So term 3 is like 6 weeks, and then you have term 4 and then term 5. So the numbering gets kind of weird in year 2, but he and I are both year 2. I currently am in Houston, Texas. So I don't know if anybody else is in Texas or Houston. If you are in Houston, reach out to me and I'll give you our WhatsApp chat. So because we talk a lot. For involvement, I am on the executive board of the Student Government Association. So I'm really involved in that. If you want to be in student government, I can answer questions for you. You should be getting applications very soon. So that's really exciting. But then I'll let Brady tell you kind of his involvement and everything.
Yeah, sure. I'm from New Orleans. I am on the board of the Honors Society, so it's called IEA. So we hold a lot of we post a lot of questions and do a lot for tutoring as well. So you'll be hearing from us as well. And then Kishore, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm a T2, which is like still year 1, but we've completed successfully term 1 and now we're in term 2. I am involved also in student government. I'm one of the class coordinators for the T2 term. I was previously a class coordinator for term 1. We're going to throw around a lot of different like acronyms, T1, T2. So feel free at any point, if you guys have any questions, just drop it in the chat or like, shout it out. We'll kind of clarify because we're so used to the lingo, but I promise you'll get used to it in a hot minute. I'm actually from Los Angeles, California. I am a recent graduate from University of California, Riverside. And if you have any other Californian peeps here, I'd like to say welcome. It's going to be a big change time zone wise, so just get used to it. You guys are going to have a blast.
Yeah. I went ahead and put in the chat our Facebook pages. So DES is Department of Educational Services. SGU really pushes for peer-to-peer learning. So Lindsey and I typically, and Kishore does as well, we hold almost weekly reviews for both the term 2s and the term 1s. So so you can actually find, there's a link to our YouTube channel as well on the Scrubs page, which is the one that I run. So you can see kind of how our reviews go. You could also see the posts we put. We have a lot of the review sessions, but go ahead and join those just because you could find out a lot of information. But we've gotten a lot of good feedback from peer-to-peer learning because obviously we have just gone through what you guys are about to go through.
And he and I no longer do the official peer-to-peer tutoring through DES. How many of you are in AEP? It would have said it on your acceptance letter. AEP,
Okay.
does
We have
that
a few
sound?
people. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So AEP is actually a pretty coveted program. I'm not gonna lie. Some people get really surprised when they see that on their acceptance letter because it says academic enhancement program. And like I was really surprised when I saw that, but it's actually a really coveted program. You meet weekly with a pre-assigned cohort and you have upper term facilitators, and then you have members within your own term. So you guys, and you get the upper term perspective of the information, of the questions, and you get to meet your fellow classmates, and it's really good. I was an AEP, Brady was an AEP. Kishore, were you an AEP? Okay.
Yeah, I
so
was.
So it's really helpful to try to tease out some of these test questions in this material. So if you are an AEP, make sure that you do get involved. Either your facilitators will most likely reach out to you very soon with information in like a WhatsApp chat, so you can get talking to them. And then those are closed peer learning group sessions. And then there are open peer learning group sessions that the sign up is sent out weekly, and you can go sign up for those. If you're an AEP, you have to do a certain number of the OPLGs, but if you're not, you can still do the OPLGs. They're just not required of you. But the Department of Educational Services, OPLGs are for everyone, AEP is not. So you can sign up for those. You'll get emails from either Jetta Sylvester or Asha. And then you can go and you can sign up for those sessions. But honestly, the biggest source of information is going to be your upper term classmates. Like Brady said, peer-to-peer learning is big. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. Most of us, if you reach out to us, will be happy to help you. Scrubs, Dog Mom, Sparkles, those are ours, but there are plenty of other Facebook groups you can join and find the ones you like and stick with those. Like Brady and I hold almost weekly reviews, and we have people that frequent our reviews. And so find the ones you like, get in with the group that you like, and you should be good.
So we know for sure you have a lot of logistical questions, how the schedule works. Do you have their schedule, Lindsey?
I can
Or
pull
we
it up
could
real quick.
we could show y'all. So
Do y'all-
some of the go
Do y'all
ahead.
have yours? Yeah, y'all have your schedule. Do you know how to
Yeah.
read your schedule?
Kind of, yeah. Why don't if you could either
Yeah.
pull up one
Yeah.
or pull up, yeah. So we'll go through that. So what about colleges? Do y'all know what colleges you've been assigned to yet? Because that's a big one.
Yeah,
Where would they?
if you don't know your college, James SGU, he's one of the admissions counselor. He's all over your Facebook page. You can actually private message him and he will let you know. So if you'll notice that I have all of these bookmarks at the top. Please, I would recommend you doing that so you can quickly go to all of your things. Like all of this is SGU related. So if you want to find your schedule, if you don't know how to find your schedule yet, you go to, hold on, the videos are in my way. So Office of the University Registrar. So student departments, Office of the University Registrar. You hover over the left, academic calendars. And so yours, all school calendars, SOM online. Oh, academic class schedules. Sorry, guys. Spring term 1.
April. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I was on it. Sorry, guys. Okay. So when you open up your schedule, at the top you have a key, A, B, C, D. So depending on what college you're in, this is what you're going to be. So Brady and I are both in Fleming. So that means anything on the schedule with a C pertains to us. So this is the biggest thing you need to understand right here. And then going day to day, that's where the letters are going to come into play. So this says A, B, C, D. So this means everyone. Oh, yours?
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yes, I can. So your lectures are at 2 p.m. to 2:50. These are all in AST, Grenadian time, which matches up with Eastern Standard, I believe, at the moment. So you will have lectures at this time that says A, B, C, D. That means everybody. And then you're going to see at 4 that says ITI. You will know if you're an ITI already. So if you're not an ITI, these two do not pertain to you. So these are your this is your stuff for Wednesday, April 7th. You move to here. This says AB. So this means only colleges. No, ITI is not for AEP. AEP and ITI are two completely different things. Good question. So this is AB. If you are CD, this is not pertain to you. So HPWP, we call this a hip whip. This is really a small group. If you're not in ITI, then you cannot attend those lectures. It would have said in your acceptance letter, I believe, if you are in ITI. But if you're AB, you have a hip whip here. Everyone has lecture here. Everyone has lecture here. ITI, if you have ITI, this is you. ITI is supplemental instruction, not supplemental, it's not supplemental, it's additional instruction. And people get put into ITI for all sorts of reasons. Most likely it's if you need additional assistance with the information. And so you will be put into ITI and you'll have small groups there and a facilitator where you go through the lecture material. So that's in addition to the lecture. So if you're in ITI, you'll go to the lecture and you'll go to your ITI session. Here, CD, so this is your hip whip small group right here if you're in CD. So you'll notice that half of you guys will have the hip whip here, half of you guys will have the hip whip here.
So traditionally, or you will basically have 2 lectures a day. Okay, so 2 hours a day. All of our lectures are in the afternoon right now. That's just since we're doing online learning. It just happened to work out that way for the best. But sometimes you will have small groups in the morning or an additional group in the morning, but just plan for those 2 lectures every day. And sometimes make sure you check to see if you have some sort of small group or different assignment earlier.
I would go through and I would color code this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's how you do the schedule. That's how you read the schedule. Go through, color code it. Remember, you have to know your college. The college key is at the top of each page, and you run through here. Somebody asked the DLAs. I knew that question was going to come up. So you have lectures that are presented during this time frame, the 2 to 2:50 and the 3 to 3:50. These are your lectures. But in Sakai resources, you're also going to notice that you have DLAs. That stands for Directed Learning Assignment. Directed Learning Assignment. That is a supplemental lecture. It is the exact same as a lecture. They're just not presented in class. And so you will notice, and I can go back here for you guys. You'll notice, and I'll go to term 1 for you, spring. You'll notice that these DLAs, this says before lecture 1. And so that's because this information supplements lecture 1 cellular organization. And then it says DLA 2 after lecture 2. So it's saying that cellular organization, this supplements lectures 1 and 2, and then cell cycle is after lecture 2, and it's going to supplement all of this material, and it puts it in order. And a lot of people will ask, do you just do lectures during the week and DLAs on the weekend? My answer to that is no. The reason being is because they organize this information for you, and this information is going to fit within the lecture. So DLAs, normally they're a little bit shorter than an actual lecture that's presented in the actual time frame during the day, but they can be a bit long. But you are responsible for going through this material on your own. Some of them have have videos associated with them, and when they have videos associated with them, you'll know. I don't think any in here have videos associated with them, but it will be the lecturer who compiled the DLA going through the material with you and explaining it. But please make sure that you keep up with your DLAs as well. You'll notice that week 2 is a lot less than week 1. They do kind of throw you in the deep end in week 1. It's totally doable. So don't let this number of DLAs terrify you. It's doable. You just have to stay on top of it. But you will not have this many DLAs every single week. So it's just throwing you into the deep end and getting you started off in medical school. Kind of on the right foot. Yeah. Yeah.
So DLAs, basically, they're the same material as the lectures. That's what you're saying, right? It's not like something separately that we have to learn. It's the same material.
No, it is. It supplements it. So
okay.
Yeah, so you'll see this DLA too, it says cell cycle. You don't have a lecture on cell cycle, but this will supplement all of this other material. It goes along with it, and it is information that is not presented in there, but it's just helping the information. Sometimes though, you will have a DLA that is not associated. So membrane and gas transport, you don't have a lecture on that. Lipid structure and function, you don't have a lecture on that. Membrane structure and transport. So these 3 DLAs right here, and just this is from a year ago, and so they might have altered the organization and structure. So I'm just showing you what was my week 1 of term 1, but it still holds. My point still stands that DLAs are supplemental. Sometimes they go hand in hand with a lecture, sometimes they don't, but they always complement each other. That's a better way to put it. They complement each other.
And we treat these as regular lectures.
Yeah.
They're just not, you just learn them on your own. Like Kishore posted in the chat, these are equally tested. They're just as important. If there's a little bit of additional information there, you can consider that testable as well.
Yeah.
So when I go through my lectures, they're bunched in with the rest, like they're no different.
Yeah, I don't treat DLAs any different than I treat a lecture. So what is a clicker question? Okay, very good point. A clicker question is a multiple choice question that will be insert into lectures. Most of the time you'll have 3, 1 in the middle, 1 at the beginning, middle, end. These are to grade your, or not grade, these are to assess your participation. You have to click in for all 3 clicker questions to get credit for the session. In addition to that, you have to be logged into Zoom. And so you'll notice here that I have SGU Zoom in my little tabs up here so that I can just go in and sign in here. If I don't have a Zoom tab right here because our term 1 was not online. So if I go to my current term, I have Zoom right here. And so my time zone is set right here. Your current time zone is, so I'm Central Standard Time. You can change this if you want. So that means that all of these times are now going to be in Central Standard. So my lecture tomorrow, it's 4 p.m. AST, but it's doing this. So you just join here. But with the clicker questions, you can go to ttpoll.com. And my computer's being slow. I should have that up here too. I don't know why I don't.
So yeah, you could do the Turning Point online on a website, the ttpoll.com, but a lot of us just download the Turning Point app on our phones so that when like you could be in lecture on your computer, maybe on your iPad or taking notes, and then when the clicker comes in, you could just click the answer on your phone. I mean, that's what I do at least. So it just makes it easy. They'll alert you when it's time for the clicker question, but it is their way of taking attendance. So there's 3 clicker questions per lecture, 1 in the beginning, 1 somewhere spread in the middle, and typically 1 at the end. So like Lindsey mentioned, you really need to make sure you click in for that, because it is required that you attend 80% of the lectures, which at the end of the day isn't that bad, right? I mean,
No.
you could do 80%, but that includes any sort of sickness or anything like that. So it builds in a buffer zone for you. The same thing with small groups and stuff like that. You need to attend 80% of those. There's also,
they actually say you're required to attend 100%. You just have a 20% grace. That's how administration is going to phrase it.
Right. As well, we'll get into some of the academics in a little bit about IMCQs and stuff.
It's sgu.zoom.us if you want to bookmark it at the top of your page. I bookmark absolutely everything. You'll see this here so that I don't have to scramble, get it. Because sometimes you'll lose track of time if you're studying or something, and you'll have a small group or you'll have a lecture. And so I'm like, oh no. So I go and I click in and I sign into Zoom, and then I click into my classes. And so a flipped classroom, you'll have a couple of these. This is going to be more of an interactive multiple choice question session. However, it's really up to the discretion of the actual lecturer and how they want to do it. So they might put you in breakout rooms and you discuss material. They might, it might just be multiple choice questions. So it's basically means you prepare beforehand. So they'll email out, or it'll just be on Sakai, the information you need to become familiar with. And then in the lecture, it's interactive. That's what that means. But the interactivity of it is going to be up to the discretion of the actual lecturer. Do you guys have any more like logistics questions we can ask for you? We can answer for you.
So why don't you run through like the orientation? So basically, y'all will have a few days, up to a week. Is it a week or 3 days?
I think it's just a couple days.
Okay.
It's just maybe a day or two of the orientation. You'll have multiple Zoom sessions that you go through, and they'll introduce you to all of the policies. They'll introduce you to all of the departments on campus. You have a lot of departments on campus. The Department of Educational Services is anything that supports your education. You have the psychology department. You can make appointments with them. They have a lot of different support groups for people in different stages of their lives going through different things. That's a really good resource. So there's a lot of support on campus if you go looking for it. So just know that if you see a deficit, if you find yourself a little overwhelmed, just reach out to somebody, reach out to SGA. We can give you a good place to go. But there is always somebody there for you, as long as you're willing to reach out and find them. So I encourage you to do that. And don't hesitate to email lecturers. You know, we've been saying peer-to-peer learning is a really good thing, and I 100% believe that. But if you have a question about a specific lecture, if you find something confusing, don't hesitate to reach out to the professor that made that lecture, and they can answer questions for you, and they can clear up some communications. And they always have office hours. If the office hours don't fit within your schedule, reach out to them personally and ask them if you can schedule a different time for office hours. They have themed office hours that are taped. So lectures and themed office hours are taped, and you can find them on Panopto. And so you can go to the themed office hours and they will go over certain materials for you. And you'll know beforehand what the themed office hour is, what they're going to go through there. But utilize the office hours, the themed office hours, utilize AEP and PLGs if you're in those. If you're not in any of those official groups, get involved with just the Facebook groups like me, Brady, and Kishore have. Like I said, we will, like, if you reach out to us on Facebook or something, we'll answer you and we'll try to do the best that we can. So some questions in the chat.
I think we had one on completion exams. The completion exams aren't too bad. One, they're not for anyone who has who goes through the schedule without any issues. Typically, it's administered only for folks who had some kind of technical issue or someone who had to take, maybe there was some glitches with their exam soft. Typically, anyone who goes through the schedule without any hiccups will not be taking a completion exam, because completion exams are module specific. So like, let's say, you had technical issue in FTM, which is Foundations to Medicine. You're not going to be, you'll either take the exam at the administered time with the rest of the cohort, or if you had technical issues, you'll take it at the very end of the term. I think it's like the week after technically the term ends.
Yeah, if you cannot sit for an exam for any reason, and those reasons can include medical, they can include technical, then you will take the completion exam for that exam. However, you need to be in communication with administration to be able to do that. You can't sit and wait a few hours or a day or so. Once that issue happens, like for our first exam of term 3, my exam soft stopped working like an hour before it wasn't even an hour before the exam. It was like 20 minutes before the exam, and it was wild. And I called ExamSoft and they couldn't help me. Then I tell examination services, which are the SGU exam people who you will get in contact with. And I was on Zoom with them for like an hour and a half troubleshooting this thing, but I couldn't take the exam. And so I had to take the completion exam. So just make sure you are in communication. You do get one no questions asked medical excuse for examinations, which you can find here. So if you go here and I'm not going to click on it because if you click on medical excuse, you can go submit a medical excuse. You get one every 12 months. And this medical excuse is no questions asked. If you do a medical excuse and something happens within that 12 months, you need to talk to DOS, Dean of Students, because sometimes things happen and you can't anticipate it, you can't control it. So don't think that once you do this medical excuse for the next 12 months, if something happens, you have to take a 0 for the exam. Just reach out to DOS and talk to them, explain to them the situation. They will ask for documentation at that time, but those are completion exams.
I think someone else had a question about like how we kind of go through DLAs, the lectures, post reads, pre-reads, and all of that.
I could kind of hit the logistics on more of the academic side. Kishore, you want to briefly get into Anki? I know you are the Anki guy here, so why don't you introduce into that?
Yeah, so Anki, I don't want to share my screen, kind of go show you guys all of the Anki stuff. I can set up like a separate kind of tutorial for all the incoming term 1s for that material. But the way I kind of approach Anki is it's kind of at its roots a flashcard system, right? But it's a smarter flashcard system than what you would assume with like Quizlet or any of your other kind of extraneous apps out there in the world. What Anki does is appropriately deliver the information that you need like constant repetition on over and over again at the right interval. So what they call it is space-based repetition. Basically, it gives you intervals and times based off of how confident you feel with the material, and it'll cycle through cards, whether it's like 1 minute, 10 minutes, and then eventually, if you feel super confident with it, it'll present to you the same material in 2 days, 3 days, etc., so on and so forth. The way I do Anki is I don't use it as a way to primarily learn. I use it as a supplement, right? I usually constantly go through the lecture material first, because Anki doesn't teach you anything. It reinforces the material that you are learning and helps you kind of master it to the best of your abilities and put it into memory. So my goal is, whenever I do Anki, is one, I finished my lecture pre-reads and post-reads for the day, and now I need to go in and reinforce the material. So that's how I do it. Now, I think Lindsey has put the SGU Anki Peeps link on the chat. That's a really great group. If you guys have any technical issues, feel free to message that group and join that group. Everyone there is super helpful. I can do a separate session where I like walk you guys through how to set it up, because certain things have changed since last time. So just a friendly FYI. Overall, I think that's just a kind of a quick run through of Anki. I think Brady will take it away with the kind of the scheduling of stuff.
Right. So if y'all have any other logistical questions, again, y'all are going to go through orientation shortly. So they're going to help reinforce or answer a lot of these questions. So let's look at more of the academic stuff now. As I mentioned, I'm on the board of the Honor Society. So when being in med school, it's an understanding that everybody studies hard, but there also is a knowledge base to learning how to study smart. I want to reinforce what Lindsey said is that everybody has different study styles, how they do it, and SGU is aware of that. So if you reach out to the Department of Educational Services, there are so many different avenues to learning how you learn or figuring out what's best for you. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen and we'll go through a little bit for you guys. Okay, so this is my page again, Scrubs DES. Join it. You can find a bunch of old stuff. If you just want to go look back through, because Lindsey and I have been doing this for a while, so you can go through the about section. You can get access to my Google Drive, a bunch of good stuff on there, and there's also links to our YouTube channel where we do these review session. This is Lindsey's page, Dog Mom DES, and Kishore is on Sparkles DES as well. So in regards to the schedule, I think the number one thing, and it is much easier said than done, is to don't fall behind. If these exams are every 3 weeks, there is no extra buffer zone to, if you're a week behind, you just, it's really difficult if you can't, if you aren't able to keep up with the material. Now, that being said, weekends are a great time as a little rollover to catch up with anything. Like was mentioned before, they really, the first couple weeks is really difficult. They're getting you into the mindset. We've all been there, we've all made it through it, but they're getting you into the mindset of being able to approach this material and the quantity of it. It's not that the material is super difficult per se, but it is a lot, right? It's a lot quickly. So the idea of studying efficiently is a good thing to get in the habit of. And trial and error too. If something works for you, then go for it. If it doesn't, then you don't stick with it. Try something else. So in regards to pre-reads and post-reads, if you do want to pre-read the material, I think my advice would be to try to keep it short. Because the teacher, when you go to lecture, is going to point out the specifics that they really feel are important. They'll be on a slide for a while, so you could start that slide and say that the instructor thought that this was really important. So you don't want to spend too much time pre-reading, but if you do want to pre-read, you can get kind of a general understanding of what the lecture is going to be about. So after the lectures, the post reads are really that important time where you really sit down with the material. I have an approach with my post reads. The first time I post read, I go through it to where I could understand it. My goal when I finish my first post read after lecture is that I could put up the slides in front of me and explain it to someone, right? The more you can understand, the less you have to purely memorize, right? The things you understand are going to be the things that stick with you. The things you understand are going to be the things that when you're stressed out on an exam, don't fail you, right? The things you can comprehend, because these exams are not just regurgitating material, it's do you comprehend what's going on, right? You have to take a clinical situation and say, what are the parameters? Why is this patient feeling this way? What are the medication side effects? So it is not just seeing if you can recite the material, but do you understand the concepts? So again, the DLAs are the same. I treat them the same as lectures, right? They're just as testable as the lectures. Just go through them. If you're going to post read the lectures, it's kind of the same for the DLAs. They have supplemental videos on most of the DLAs. It's called Panopto. It's you can see the link on your Sakai site. So check that out, because they're kind of like supplemental videos by the professors to go along with the DLAs. Now I'm going to show you real quick what I'm like. This is like, so this would be like my weekly schedule. So the red, so for term 4, we have a lot of small groups, right? So the red correlates to small groups. These are mandatory things for me. IMCQs are interactive multiple choice question sessions. They're put on by the professors. So you'll go in and you'll just use your Turning Point app and you'll answer questions there. It's a good way of seeing if you, seeing where your deficits are, right? And so what is in this lighter blue here are the lectures, and the darker blue correlate to DLAs. So as Lindsey mentioned, I also like to do things in order. I don't save the DLAs for the end of the week or do them prior to. So as it stands, some days are just longer than other days. Like as you could see on this Tuesday, I had to go through 2 lectures and 3 DLAs. On this Friday, I only had to go through 2. So some people, they'll go to lecture and then they'll post read those lectures. I personally, so say I had 2 lectures on Friday, I like to do my post reads on Saturday. So I kind of sleep on the lectures and do like a 48-hour cycle. So I try to do my post reads the next day. So that still leaves me 2 extra days. It'll leave me Sunday and Monday as kind of rollover days, because obviously I would do Monday's lectures on Tuesday. But if you like to do them the same day, you can do it that way, whatever works for you. But regardless, you're going to want to have extra days just in case some lectures are really dense, or some days are really dense and you have rollover. You also want to be able to use those weekends to do questions, to go for outside resources, to try to look on YouTube to see if something is going to help you solidify the material. So I do my schedules early. I know Lindsey does her full term schedule before the term starts. I try to do them weekly just so I can kind of plan my week out, but you kind of just need to try it and see what works for you. But again, some days are just going to be, more dense than other days just because the amount of DLAs you have to do. One of the huge things is practice questions, okay? The best correlate to how well you're going to do on the exam is how many questions or practice questions you can do. There is an art to doing these questions. These questions are always multiple choice, and there's always one answer, meaning that there's no A and B or all of the above. So you need to choose the best answer. So there is an art to learning how to do these questions. The more you do, the faster you get, the better you get, the more you're able to pick things out in the question and kind of gauge how to answer the question in a timely manner. So you're going to do these IMCQs in class. There'll be designated times where the teachers will set out an hour, 2 hours, where y'all will just do practice questions based on the lectures you've just done. You'll also have weekend quizzes as well. They're just another way of reinforcing the idea of doing questions. The teachers will also post practice questions on Sakai. That's that main site y'all were looking at where you can see where you could download your lectures and stuff. So those will be based on the week. And then you'll also find other resources. Sometimes previous terms will post question sets there. So again, you could see the importance of doing questions. I find it a little bit, I find it better, after you've been passively reading and learning for a long time. It is a way of changing it up and actively learning. So you're actively forcing yourself to think forward. So,
and especially, I'm going to interject here, especially in FTM, the first module of term 1, FTM is a lot. It's cell biology, it's genetics, it's all of these things that don't really fit together. And it's not systems based, unfortunately. Once you get past FTM, everything at SGU is going to be systems based. But FTM is a lot of stuff kind of put together, and it's not very conceptual, which is hard. And so you need to do practice questions to understand how they're going to ask this material, because this material doesn't seem clinical. It doesn't seem three-dimensional. You can't put it into context with a patient case. And so doing these practice questions and starting them early are going to show you how they're going to test this information. And it kind of trains your brain to start looking at these lectures more in a vignette style, more clinically, because you can get used to those questions. So make sure that you're not putting those off. I mean, in year one, you do have a lot of assigned. So you do have the IMCQs, you do have the exams off quizzes, but make sure you are doing the Sakai practice questions. If you need more, you can go to Facebook groups. Like I put in the chat, we have practice questions and practice exams in our Google Drives. And if you're in AAP, a lot of AAP groups will do practice questions. OPLGs will do practice questions. So make sure you are not sleeping on those.
Right. So Kishore also mentioned Anki. Again, it's a way of spaced repetition. It's kind of a flashcard system. So if that's your thing, definitely look into that. Lastly here, first aid. This is the review book basically for the boards. It is the Bible for med school. If you want to see if something you're learning is high yield, you can look at first aid. If it's important, it's going to be in first aid. Now, the curriculum is based on the board exams. This review book, everybody uses that I know for the boards, to study for the boards. So get this book. At first, it does look dense. It's not going to really explain a lot of material, but there's a lot of good charts and tables to kind of concisely condense down the material. So if you want to purchase that, get the hard copy, buy the digital copy so you could search it. Whatever you need to do, the sooner you look into that, the better. Now, again, we can't stress enough, when you make your schedule, typically you're going to put the questions last because you want to get through the material first, but don't put those questions off too much. Even if you don't necessarily feel prepared to start doing practice questions, you can learn from getting questions wrong, okay? So when I get a question wrong, I ask myself, why did I get it wrong? Why is the another option right? And why are the other options wrong as well? So it is a learning process. You're not going to get them all right, but you need to learn why, what were the downfalls or pitfalls of you getting them wrong. Now, as you go forward, the clock's going to be important. The test is set up, again, like the board exam. So you have 72 seconds a question. So when I do questions, I try to keep it to a minute. If I keep all the questions to a minute, then I have a good buffer zone to be able to go back through the questions and check them. So you should, even if you need to time yourself when you do questions, get in the habit of keeping them to about a minute. There are functions on the ExamSoft, the testing platform. I always highlight important words as I go through. It helps me slow down. And when I go back and check it, I can see the important words that stand out. And there's a strikeout function. When you have A through E, you can go through and say, no, this is definitely wrong. This is definitely wrong. There is a psychological component to be able to look at 2 options versus 5. So you can do that. Again, keeping it to a minute. If you don't know something, you put the most logical thing at the time and you can mark it. So you always can go back through it and check it again. But again, you don't want to spend 5 minutes on a question because that's 4 minutes you lost for other questions, right? If you keep them to a minute a question. Since we're online, there's no scratch paper or no whiteboard. SGU does understand it. So any sort of math questions or math problems, they keep it to where you can do them with the digital calculator that's there. You don't really need to have scratch paper for right now. And again, always go back and check your answers. Just a caveat, you're gonna feel overwhelmed, but I promise you, you know more than you think you know. So just a rule of thumb is just don't change your answers unless you're sure it's wrong. A lot of times that first answer is the right answer. But again, this is just a prequel. We know you're going to do orientation, but we can't stress enough how important it is to get the practice questions. So then you're going to ask yourself, well, what is testable? There's 100 slides here. I'm like, what are we looking at, right? So again, since it's A through E and you're picking out one option, the best option, you want to take note of exceptions and differences. So if there's two diseases that are very similar and they have one defining characteristic, one lab value, one clinical symptoms that's opposite, those are the things you need to kind of you need to highlight. You need to say, if they're going to write a question about this, they're going to put that in there, right? So when you're reading through the notes and stuff, you're like, wow, I could see that being a test question, right? The better you get at that, the more you're going to be ready for the exam. I did mention a lot of good professors here. They emphasize in lecture. They say this is an important slide. You're going to want to focus on this characteristic. So take note of that. Things that are clinically relevant. The questions that they write are always based on a clinical vignette. So they'll say a 72-year-old woman comes in with a leg fracture and whatnot. So anything that's clinically relevant in the lecture, definitely key in on. And then, differentiating, again, going through exceptions and differences. How do you differentiate something, to where it is a testable component? And then always do the questions on Sakai. These are posted by the professors. So if they post a question for you, certainly consider that important. And then approaching questions. Again, there's no right way of answering questions, but you need to figure out what works for you. Some people read the last line first to see what the actual question is, then go back to the vignette. Some people read the answers first to see what they're talking about. Some people just start at the beginning and make a story out of it. So whatever you need to do, that's what you need to do to go forward. Yeah, right. So you'll get better at this too, highlighting keywords, clinical signs, pertinent lab values, things like accept or not, those stand out. So then you could pick the best answer there. IEA is going to be the Honor Society. So we do offer individual tutoring. So you can reach out to us as well. And then DES is going to be another resource if you need additional resource. So this is kind of how the questions are set up. This was for another group, but you could see that it's just gonna, some of them have pictures. There'll be A, B, C, and D. So you'll be able to pick the right question. And then let's see if I have a good vignette. I think I do coming up. So yeah, right, like this, a 2-year-old patient comes in. So obviously you haven't learned this yet, but it's kind of asking about the disease, the cystic fibrosis this child has. What kind of test would you get? So
you saw the couple questions before that Brady flipped to. Those were not vignette styles, and you will not have questions like this on your exam. These are vignettes. So you're going to have a patient, you're going to have a presentation, they're going to put some vital signs on there, and if for FTM, it really is the last couple lines. Get in the habit of reading through the entire vignette, I would say, because you might miss some good information, but you're gonna get vignettes for every single one of the questions on an exam.
And I'll just show you real quick. This is the Scrubs page. So this is my page. You could see here access to the Google Drive. You can go ahead and click the playlist. This is for YouTube. You could check out some of the videos now and kind of see how we run our reviews. There's term 1 and we do them for term 2 as well. And you could see here, like this is the recording I posted. Lindsey and I held a review yesterday for the term 1s, and the review slides are here. So you could just check those out. But bookmark this, these term 1 reviews, and it'll bring you to, so you can see the catalog of reviews we've done. So you could just take a look at those and kind of see what we felt was important and what we pointed out and how we approach the material. So with that being said, I guess we could answer any questions you guys have.
Yeah, someone wants to know where to find the practice questions in Sakai. So I will click over to that real quick. So somebody asked how to get to Sakai. This is your portal page. If you go to the SGU homepage up at the top, I mean, I have this bookmarked and I would recommend bookmarking everything. But if you just go to sgu.edu, at the top, it says My Account University Portal, and then you log in. But I would bookmark this login page so you don't have to go to the SGU homepage. But if you scroll down, it says My Courses. And that's where you're going to find it. And so I'm going to go back to, you'll see that I keep opening up sites. You don't have to do that. If you go into sites, you can star these, and that's what is going to show up on your header here. And so I have all of my current term stuffs in my header. But if you go here, this is what it's going to open to. This is what you're going to open to. And so I always click resources. A lot of people will click lesson plans, and it's not going to show it on here because, like I said, we weren't online when we started term 1. But you'll have something here that's called lesson plans. I always just go to resources, and this is what it's going to show. You have the different modules. So you're in FTM right now, and then you'll have week 1, and then you'll have a separate folder within week 1 for practice questions. And you'll notice this has self-is practice cues with answers, self-is practice cues, and this doesn't have answers. And so some of these are vignette style, some of them are not. These are really to help find your deficits. Practice questions are really good in also learning some information you're not too sure about, because like I said before, you are going to learn how they're planning on testing the information, but it's also going to narrow down what's important. For example, some pieces of information are more conceptual to help you answer questions, and other pieces of information, like this is actually what they're looking for. And so you're going to figure out what information is you really need to focus in on. So these practice questions are going to help with that. Like I said, some are vignette style, some are not. I pulled up, this was a review we did yesterday, but if you scroll down to the bottom, we have a bunch of vignette style questions. And so you can find these on our drives. This was an MSK one, so this was term 1. This was you guys. But so these are practice questions that we wrote and that we gathered and prepared. Okay, are there any more questions? Specific questions that you want us to go through?
No, you could join the IEA Facebook group. That's fine. But yeah, no worries. But you will have the option of joining IEA after your first term if you make the dean's list or get above a 90%. After that, you still have the option of joining if you achieve the academic prerequisites going forward. So even if you don't make it in term 2, if you get the proper grades in term 2 cumulatively, like combining term 1 and term 2, you can join IEA.
Yeah. So I have a question about how I use outside resources. You see that I have a few up here. Ninja Nerds. I adore Ninja Nerds. His videos are a little longer, but he is incredible. You come here and he has different playlists. So I love Ninja Nerds. Physio is a subscription. So Ninja Nerd would be free. Physio is a subscription. This is more lecture style videos. Osmosis is a subscription. It's short animated videos. And then Amboss is just a question bank. All 3 of these are subscriptions. So I use my supplemental resources when I feel like I need additional information. If I feel like the SGU slides are sufficient enough to provide mastery of the topic, I don't go to my outside resources. And I want to make that clear. A lot of people will get a lot of supplemental resources and they get bogged down in their post read because they're going through all of these websites, they're going through all of these video sources, and they don't know what to do. And it's taking them so much time to post read. I start with the SGU lecture. I go through, first time I go through, I just want to get the broad overview, like Brady said, don't try to memorize each individual slide. I love chunking the information. You'll see that 2 or 3 slides are talking about the same thing. And so I'll chunk that information together. Okay, why do I care about this? What's the big point? The big idea, then I'll go through and I'll fill in the little details. But if I get stuck and I don't understand something and the SGU lecture is not providing me with enough information to master the material, that's when I go to my outside resources. And I won't go to all of them. I will go to one of them, find the one that I think is best and use that. So I'll click into Ninja Nerd and find a video. Oh, there's no video. There's not one I like. I'll click into Physio. Okay, is there a video that goes over what I want? If there's not, okay, then I'm going to click into Osmosis. And usually I can find something in those 3. If I can't, then I'll branch out and go somewhere else. Armando Hasudunan is another one that I really like for YouTube channels. It's a time lapse. He's drawing these things out. He is also incredible. But like I said, I start with SGU material and I don't branch out unless I feel I have to. And I don't spend a lot of time actually looking for this stuff outside of SGU. Like I said, I have my favorites. These are my favorites. I'll click through them, find something that helps me understand the material, and then I'll go back to the SGU slides and fill in the pieces of information that I will be tested over. But please don't get bogged down in supplemental resources. You can really waste a lot of time going through other video resources, other question banks, and then at the end of the day, you still don't understand what you're looking at and you've wasted a lot of time. So start with SGU and branch out if you have to.
Yeah, let me just elaborate on that a little bit. So there is a method to the way they teach you. So if they're going to teach you a disease like cystic fibrosis, let's say, they may teach you the first 20% of it on purpose. And then in term 2, they'll teach you the next 40%, and term 4, you'll finish it off. So if you go to supplemental material, you may go down what we call a rabbit hole, and you may find yourself learning everything about it where you only needed to know the first part of it. So again, use what SGU has provided for you. And then if you want a broader understanding or even more detailed understanding of that specific topic, you can, but try not to dive too deep because you're only tested on the material that SGU provides. So I just want to reiterate this again. When you're post reading, it is a ton of material. So like Lindsey was saying, I personally, I like to do my first post read just based on understanding. If I get to some sort of pathway, I don't sit there for an hour and try to memorize the pathway. I go through and I want to be able to understand it. I want to be able to put the lecture in my own words and be able to put it up on a slide or put it up and explain it to someone. Then the second time I go through, I find it less stressful because I already have a general understanding. So now I can go through and I can start to memorize things and I can start to iron out fine details. So I take this 2 post read approach to kind of group everything together. Then I could do questions and then I could go through another pass before the exam. So whatever works for you, but you need to try different things because a lot of med school is about learning how you learn because everybody's different.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is learning how you learn, learning how you study. Active recall is the biggest thing. You need to be able to step back from the notes, be able to close your eyes and explain it. If you can't explain it without your lecture notes, you don't have active recall. So please don't try to sit there and just read and memorize each slide. Take the information as chunks of information. I love chunking information. And if you come to our stuff, you'll always hear me talk about chunking of the information. And I wanted to touch on something. I just posted it in the Zoom chat. Make sure for the exams you're focusing on the lecture slides. You'll have assigned reading. You'll have all of these other things, but the testable material is in the lecture slides. The small groups are expanding upon information, but you will not be tested on these small group materials. Small group is to supplement your understanding and expand upon the understanding. understanding. But the testable material is you will find in the lecture slides. So like I said, if you do go to your supplemental resources to help you grasp a concept, to understand a concept, you always need to go back to your lecture slides and make sure that the details that SGU is expecting of you are in your knowledge set for that exam.
And you could treat the textbooks the same way, right? So there are going to be assigned readings. If you want to go into the textbook and get an understanding of what's going on, it's there. It is, it is a way to reference things for me, at least. I try to use the textbook for reference, but again, the testable material is going to come from the lectures. Do you want to point, let's see, we had a couple of questions. The prep course, yeah, I would go through those just so you're ready to, just so you're ready.
I was shaking my head and he's like, yeah, go through the prep course.
It's just so you're prepared. If you kind of hit the ground running but no, you won't be necessarily tested on that.
No.
It's just so you have an understanding going into the first day.
So if you want to do it, more power to you, but you will not be at a disadvantage if you don't. I want to stress that. If you feel like you just want to chill for the next week and a half and you don't want to do the prep course, do not feel guilty if you don't do it. Like Brady said, it can help you get a foundation, and it can help you get an understanding prior to day one, but it will not put you at a disadvantage if you don't do it.
It's a lot of undergrad material, but it's still review. It's just, again, so you could just kind of hit the ground running for day one. As for research opportunities, is that available for term one, or is that term two?
You'll see it in term two. I think they also bumped up the requirements for that. It previously
it's
was
90% right now for the MSRI. Yeah. Now the MSRI, which is the research program at SGU, that's the official one. I think you can reach out personally to see if you can get on somebody's project. Don't quote me on that, but you can email them and they can give you more information, and you can reach out to professors.
All right. Any other questions you guys have?
If you want to get involved, you guys are going to have an organization fair to go over all of the organizations. Get involved in what you want to get involved in. A lot of people will say, wait until term two. I did not wait until term two. I wanted to get involved right out of the gate because I wanted to incorporate all aspects of medical school and not have to add on in the future. And so I got involved right off the bat.
And that brings up an important point. Sadly, with COVID right now, we have to do it on this online platform. And what you're going to find, one of the hardest things is about starting online is interacting with people in your class. So you need to be proactive about it. Be active on Facebook. When you meet your small group, y'all make a group chat so y'all could discuss things. It's going to be important that you end up studying together with people, because there's nothing better to see if you know the material is bouncing ideas. You take a patient presentation and you go through it with another person or a group of people just to kind of see what other people are thinking about. So other people are going to have different backgrounds than you, and hearing it from a number of people is going to be important. So we do understand. Lindsey and I did have a brief time a few months before COVID on the island, so we were able to meet. But the term twos, they were very proactive about meeting people. So they do group study sessions and all kind of stuff like that. So definitely be proactive. The more people, the sooner you meet people, the easier it's going to be for you guys.
Yeah, and I think you guys have already started a lot of good WhatsApp chats. You guys talk a lot on your Facebook group, but I had a request to show how to sign into Zoom lectures again. So if you get into my courses from the portal, if you, it'll probably already be in on your class. And then on the side, you should have one that says Zoom. And then it goes by day. So you'll see a lot of stuff here. So this is stuff I'm not in. So, I mean, this will be me tomorrow, small group cohort C, but it they disappear once the time passes. But for lecture, I would just click join. It's a single sign on, but you have to be signed into your SGU Zoom to be able to be even let into the session. If you're a guest, it won't even let you in.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Like if you have a conference that you want to go to, like does the school excuse you for that?
No.
Okay.
So you are expected to attend 100% of all scheduled activities. You get a 20% grace for anything that comes up. So anything that comes up includes doctor's appointments, life events, sleeping in, playing hooky, conferences. So anything that could cause you to miss a scheduled event falls within that 20% grace. And so there is no such thing as an excused absence at SGU. And so just make sure that if you are planning to miss something, that does fall within the 20% grace provided by administration.
And don't cut that close. Like leave yourself a little bit of buffer zone towards the end, just in case you have technical problems, or if sadly something happens, you need to make sure you have a little bit extra. So don't ride that 80% line.
Yeah. And
sorry.
huh?
Even if it's like a medical conference, I'm
Yes.
just making sure. Okay.
Yeah. There's no excuse absence because it's not called attendance. It's not attendance, it's participation. So you're expected to have 100% participation, but you get a 20% grace before they penalize you. And so if you fall below that 80% that I'm going to just stick with the 20%. If you go over the 20% grace, that's when you can start docking participation. And so they're going to go over that in orientation, but just know that anything and everything that would cause you to miss a scheduled event will fall within that 20% grace of participation.
The lectures on the schedule are live, yes. So
Yes.
You'll be able to ask questions. There will be a teacher presenting, a professor presenting, and there also generally is another professor manning the chat. So you can ask questions, and if they don't get around to your questions, they try to post answers to those later. So it is very interactive for you guys. As for making time for yourselves, that's obviously important. Lindsey and I had an exam on Monday, so it was kind of Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe a little bit into Thursday. We kind of took it easy, kind of rested, watched a little bit of Netflix, and then kind of got back into it. Yeah, so I mean, obviously it's important, but burnout's a big thing, but you're going to want to hit the ground running because they throw you into the deep end and make sure you could swim. So that's intentional. It's just kind of getting you in the mindset of being able to study 10, 12 hours a day, get your work done, and then you can do whatever you want. Put it that way.
Yeah. And I had a question how to access recorded sessions. So the sessions that are recorded are lectures and themed office hours. IMCQ sessions are not recorded because they are expected to be interactive. And then regular office hours are not recorded because those are really informal. But if you want to find those, you're going to have on the left, it says Panopto. And so you can find the recordings there. So you'll see it and their name too. So if you go down here, like lecture 23, neoplasia 3, so you can find all the recordings there.
Does anybody have any other questions? I know it's a lot. I will post this video later if y'all want to come back to it. I'll post it on my page. Lindsey shares it on her page. It'll be on our YouTube channel. On the playlist, and I'll post it to your class page as well. So again, we want to reiterate, we're all here for you guys. We were just there. This peer-to-peer thing is really important to all of us. We like to pay it forward because those before us, helped us out so much. Not only that, but again, SGU understands that people come from all different walks of life. So they have so many different options for you guys for learning, whether that's hooking you up with different peers, whether it's one-on-one tutoring, whether it's group tutoring, whether it's just kind of sitting down and saying, okay, tell me about your day. What are we going to do differently here? So there's so many options. So just understand you are certainly not in this alone. We all got your back. So it's all good. You can
And
always reach out to us.
Some ideas if you want with your colleagues. A lot of people will do silent study with just their friends. So you'll sign on to a Zoom link and you'll literally just sit there and silent study, or maybe you'll talk to each other. There are a bunch of avenues to do study hall. So SGA has a study hall, in a virtual study hall every night. And so you can log on there and you can request a breakout room if you want to study with your friends. SGA also has a study buddy locator. If you go to the portal, I'm going to hype it up right now. But if you go to groups, if you go to Student Government Association, at the top here, once it loads, SGA forms, you can do a study buddy sign up form. And once you do this, you can find people in your area that you can meet up with. And, you know, I have a WhatsApp chat for all the Houston, Texas people, and we've met up a couple times and we talk to each other all the time. And so it is an interesting time. It is a stressful time. It is a weird time, but definitely it is what you make of it right now. We are all in this together. So just know that every single one of you is in the same boat, feels the same way. And so just reach out to people, Facebook message people. You can put messages in your Facebook group, but we really are all here for each other. So don't hesitate to reach out. But are there any other specific questions you want us to go over? We have some more T2s joining in, some of the fam.
Practical lab, yeah. You see the question, the practical lab exam in the OSEX?
Yeah.
They'll get into that in when they do orientation. It's just they'll go. You'll basically take an anatomy-based exam at the end. But yeah, you don't really need to worry about that right now.
Yeah, that's at the end of the term.
Yeah, and you'll also do a clinical-based test. But by the time that comes, you'll certainly be prepared for it. Yeah. So no worries there. All right, if that's it, I'll stop the recording, but we'll stay back in case anybody wants to say hi or has any other questions.